And Infrastructure Division is warning U.S. businesses to be on guard for possible cyber attacks against finance, energy, and technology companies. Maine Independent Senator Angus King serves on the Armed Services and Intelligence Committees and joins me now. And I understand you were at a cyber conference just now. How serious do you think the threat of a cyber attack from Iran is?
Of course, it's impossible to tell what they're contemplating or discussing, but I think it's got to be high on their priority list. They've already demonstrated a capability to penetrate our financial system. They have a very sophisticated cyber capacity, probably not equal to Russia or China, but pretty significant. And I think that is probably one of the things that they're contemplating. In fact, if I were betting, I'd think that's where they're going to hit us.
Now, in terms of the posture of the Senate, Mitch McConnell, I want to ask you about impeachment because our colleague Casey Hunt on the Hill just talked to Mitt Romney. And Mitt Romney indicated, and I think we have that sound ready, that he is ready to vote with Mitch McConnell on the procedures, which would be opening arguments first and then a decision on witnesses. Let's watch.
The Clinton impeachment process allowed for witnesses to be determined after the opening arguments. I'm comfortable with that process. At this stage, I'd like to hear from John Bolton and other witnesses with direct information, but that process will accommodate that.
Are you still open to voting to convict the president?
I'm remaining impartial, as my oath will require. Assuming that impeachment articles actually reach the Senate, I intend to do impartial justice.
So with that, Senator King, it seems that Mitch McConnell has the 4 Republicans he needs to determine the rules of procedure for a Senate trial. If that's agreed, is it time for Nancy Pelosi to send over the articles of impeachment and to go ahead with it?
I think it is time for the Speaker to send the articles over. I don't think her holding them puts any particular pressure on Mitch McConnell. I think the key vote will come in the middle of the trial. Apparently, as according to Senator Romney, if Mitch has the votes to block witnesses at this point, there certainly will be a motion to call witnesses, most obviously John Bolton, who essentially has volunteered to come in if subpoenaed, in the middle of the proceedings. The important thing to me is getting to the facts and how anybody. I think it's going to be very hard for somebody to vote against calling witnesses, particularly again like someone like John Bolton, who's indicated a willingness to come in. You're basically then saying, "Don't confuse me with the facts. I don't want to really know what happened. I don't really want to know what the president did and why he did it." And I don't think that's an easy vote for anybody of either of the political parties. So I think we're going to have that vote one time or another. It appears now, based on your reporting, that it's going to be in the middle of the trial instead of at the beginning. But the point is, we've got to have the information that's available.
I also want to ask you about Iranian Americans because obviously Maine borders Canada, and your colleagues in Washington State are saying that hundreds of Iranian Americans, people with U.S. citizenship, have had trouble returning to the U.S. after trips to Canada. We're hearing reports. CPB is not confirming that there's some new policy. They're certainly detaining and questioning Iranian Americans trying to get back into the U.S. Have you heard anything from Maine, and are you concerned? Are you following up?
I have not heard anything from Maine as of this morning. That doesn't mean it hasn't happened, and I don't want to say categorically that it hasn't. But I haven't heard that, and I think we need to get to the bottom of whether this was some kind of routine matter that the CPB took on themselves at the Washington-Canadian border, or whether this is a national policy that's been handed down. I think we deserve to know what the policy is, what the basis of it is. It's a little disturbing that something like that would happen, particularly to people who are U.S. citizens or legal U.S. residents, to suddenly have this kind of questioning. We got to be prudent, but that doesn't seem to be appropriate unless there's a clear policy that we have some understanding of what the basis of it is.
And finally, I want to ask you as a member of the Intelligence Committee whether you're satisfied. Mike Pompeo today was indicating that the, quote, imminent threat was the past attacks by Iran, against sites in Iraq.
Well, I'm headed for an Intelligence Committee meeting this afternoon where we're going to see that data, and I have seen some of the intelligence. I think the word imminent is the key word, and it's hard to argue that because attacks have been taking place over the past almost 20 years, that suddenly there was an imminent attack that would imply to me, and I think ordinary people, within a matter of hours, if not days, and that was the reason for this strike. There's no question that getting rid of Soleimani is a positive thing for the Middle East and for the world. The question is the timing and the manner and the location, and whether it's created more problems than it has solved and made Americans actually less safe than they were the day before that strike.
Senator, thank you very much. And we'll be right back.
Thank you.